Hello everybody, hope you're all doing well. I have a pair of heads here, and one pair is a 460 head and the other pair is a big block Chevy head. And I was just looking over these heads because they're both getting ported, and I got thinking about how different Chevy and Ford did things. And you might look at the ports and say, well, they're different. But porting's porting. And you port one set, you just do whatever. And you port the other set, and you just do whatever. Well, I'm going to show you guys something that most people don't talk about. And a lot of times it comes down to people will say how the big block Chevy makes more power than a big block Ford. Now, one of the things that goes on in a head, and you guys all know, is atomization with the fuel. So I'm going to go all the way back here to the bowl with this bit. All the way back past the guide to the bowl. Let me see if I can get it to stay there. And you guys can see how long that runner is, okay? There's the bit, and that's how much bit sticks out. Then you go to the big block Chevy head, all the way back to the bowl, and almost swallows that bit. Well, hang on. Gotta do a fear test. There you go. The tip of that bit is... Let me make sure I'm not too far. No, I'm right there against the back. That way you guys can see. So that gives fuel a lot more time to get atomized in that port than it does in the Ford. And the big block Ford cam timing would be different building an engine than it would be on the big block Chevy. So they're two different animals. So if you have one guy trying to build a big block Chevy and a big block Ford, and you're trying to do these engines equal, they're not going to be equal. There's no fair test. I see tests all the time on people comparing the Ford big block with the Chevy and the Mopar. You cannot put the same profile cam in an engine and expect them to make the same power. When one head's calling for a 700 lift cam and the other head's calling for a 600 lift cam and less. So I see these tests all the time, and I think most of you guys know who does the most testing. And the test I hate worse than any of them is the big block Chevy compared to the big block Ford. Now, the last time I seen a test done, they used similar year products with the Ford and the Chevy. But here's the problem. The Chevy made a little bit more power, and yet they used the correct intake for that combination with the Chevy head. And what they did with the Ford head, they used the stealth intake, when a performer intake should have been used in that test, because all they did is move the power band up where the Ford head doesn't work at that RPM, not stock. And it lost torque with that intake. The stealth's a very good intake for racing and street use. It's one of the best intakes. It's my favorite, but not when it comes to the Ford on a lower scale with the RPM. So, and especially with a spacer. You play around spacers on the Ford, I think it's more crucial than on the Chevy on a low profile basis. So I thought I'd just do this quick little segment and show you guys the difference, because some people don't really know. They just say, oh, big block Ford, big block Chevy, and you really don't know what the difference would be in a lot of cases. So it's like this here. If you know what you're doing with either one of these heads in a combination, that's why you'll see one guy run well with a Ford and you'll see another guy run terrible with a Ford. You'll see one guy make big power with the Chevy, another guy won't do so well with the Chevy. That's why I have arguments with people, because you can't build these the same. They said years ago in the pro stock world that Bob Glidden was the only one to straighten the 460 out. And that was back then. And you didn't see too many guys running them engines. They were very unpopular back then, the big block Ford. And the cam timing's different with them than a big block Chevy. But if anybody could figure anything out, that would be Bob Glidden, because he did the same with the Mopar. Some guys just have a natural knack. They know what to do. They know what the difference is. So they know how to correct problems. But I thought on a scale where you guys just see a test, I seen the big block Ford, the big block Chevy. Rich did a test, and blah, blah, blah. Rich, your test is not equal. If you want to do an equal test with a small profile head, use a performer intake with a 1/8 spacer. I've seen that work out the best on most cases. And of course, it depends who's tuning the vehicle. Depends on what size carburetor. And a lot of different variables. So you can see this test done rather, with that intake, and they could still mess it up. Because a Ford likes an 850 carburetor, the Chevy can get away with a 750 carburetor. So that's something else I wanted to put out there. And you think, well, a head that flows more could use a bigger carburetor. Well, remember guys, I'm talking about a low profile, low RPM engine. So when it comes to that, and you start putting high profile intakes on a Ford, it's not always going to benefit that engine till you start doing work to the Ford stuff. But on a low profile scale, basically stock stuff, the performer intake will outrun almost any intake on a stock basis on a Ford. So I thought I'd throw that in there, guys, because we watch these people do these tests, we put high expectations on them, and we believe what they say. And just because they say it, don't always make it true. So that's Terry's 2 cents. So I'm going to call it a wrap with that, fellas, and I hope I explained this right and gave you somewhat of an idea, at least the difference between the runners. As far as the size, it's not just the size. The Chevy also has a longer runner and a better opportunity to atomize the fuel. And that's my opinion. So in that case, we're going to call this a wrap. And yeah, I'm beat up, guys. I've been out here doing stuff all day. So I hope my video even makes sense to you. I hope it makes sense to me when I play it back. But thank you, fellas, for taking time out of your day to watch this. I appreciate you guys, and always want to take time to tell you that. So God bless you, everybody. Have a good night.